The Chevy Beamers and minivans, over 600 cars, trucks, SUVs. Are you listening, man? Let Eastern Motors put you in a car today. Let Eastern Motors finance it all the
way. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Truly good evening. It is Selection Sunday night. It is a tradition unlike any other. It is the College Crosse, Crosse Commission, whatever the heck you want to call us, Selection Sunday live show. I am Jake Nazar, and I am joined by my good friend, Saif Fakadu, Erie Barrister, Trent, New Jersey's finest.
Unburdened by what has been with Hopkins season, Jake. That I'm just happy to see. Enjoy this. Just free, those like commercials, like just like a woman running the field, just like just that's me with no like worrying about like what's gonna happen, where we're seated, first round game. That's just unburdened by all that. But yeah.
But to clarify, you would rather be in.
Of course. But it's just like after the just downward. It's just like loss after loss.
This is your liberation day.
Yeah, it's just it's like I enjoy about the tournament week and the tournament, the big dance. It's just in God's hands. We did all we could. We potted.
Or you did it.
I said for us too, but I just meant now there's a tournament, like it's just wacky things happen in a tournament. Like it just really is like just kind of out of what we think and predict and like talk about and stuff like that. So it's just kind of just enjoy it, and this month, that's the next few weeks.
It's you do get a feeling of your team's not in it, but it's we like to say for the action is the juice.
Oh yeah.
So I remember when Maryland lost to Army the first round, I put up like that Steve Kerr video they did after the Warriors lost KD and Steph got hurt, and he's like, "This is the real NBA." I don't know if I want to live in the real NBA.
No, for sure. It's just one season. I'll be back next
not two seasons. It's like it's like a was it summer abroad?
Yeah, it's like the end of Petro 2-season million where it didn't really count. I don't think in my head I was just like I'm still kind of in mourning. Hopkins was just bad. 2013 was so far ago. I don't even remember it. And it's just like once every 20 years, I'm fine. It's been actually 4 and almost 15.
Good evening. We love the energy. If you are here, feel free to say hi. Feel free to put your thoughts in the chat as we go along. We had a lot of you do that on Friday. It rocked. So let us know what you would, if you were the committee, what would you do? I think there's a couple of calls that it could be an interesting night. It also could not be. I think there's a couple of things that are going to be up for grabs. The main one, obviously, being whether Army or Harvard gets the final spot in the field. I suspect that the drama around the number 1 seed is probably gone with what Cornell did. And then other than that, it's just kind of a couple of spots here or there. But I do think it'll be interesting to see, how some of this stuff sort of shakes out, just with, I think bracket integrity will be really interesting in this. The selection committee likes to use that. So where do they put the Ivy and Big Ten teams? Do they split it up? Ivy, Big Ten, Ivy, do they go like Cornell, Maryland, Princeton, Ohio State? How do they split up those ACC teams at the back end? I think will be important. It always is better. I remember the 23 tournament where and it was a good tournament, definitely, but it got kind of wonky with you had 3 ACC teams at the front and then 3 Big Ten teams in the middle. I think that would be kind of interesting. So that's kind of granular stuff. I guess Cam, he says, let's get right to it. I mean, this is the big topic of the evening. Army or Harvard? Safe. What's your gut feeling?
I think what we were talking about yesterday, in the DMs and just like kind of early this week, like, rising tide lifts all boats. Like Syracuse was the tide and it lifted Harvard's boat. I mean, like it kind of helped them, with having that win over them. I think Army just is going to be like on the outside looking in. Like I know Harvard's like, I maybe like too, I'm looking at it too favorably, but they both have a win over Yale. Harvard just has an extra, 15 to 20ish win without Michigan, where Army has that Colgate win, which looks a little bit better now that Colgate is now in the top 20 and won the Patriot League. But I just think Harvard is going to be able to like hang its hat on the fact that has a top 5 win, beat a BU team that beat Army. I know we were going to be talking about bracket integrity. We always got to remember selection criteria integrity. Head-to-head competition, like common opponents, that type of stuff is going to be like coming to play. Like Harvard, if you do like the average RPI loss, they both lost to Colgate. That isn't the greatest loss, but the Army's other losses are like to Princeton, they double up, and Cornell. So like the average RPI loss, which is part of the criteria, which also kind of be in their favor. So I just think Harvard, would have been obviously much more to their benefit if they beat Princeton. It just made their case just much stronger. But they didn't. But I think if you look at the resume, you're gonna be close. Who knows what the regional directors are gonna share their opinion. But yeah, no, I think also like the two best conferences I think this year were the Ivy and Big Ten. Ivy more, you can say it was like top heavy with Princeton and Cornell. But Harvard for a minute had their moment. They did have multiple out of conference wins against Big Ten and ACC opponent, and I think like that may go to their benefit. They're the third team for like the kind of first or second best conference. Like they're probably going to get over Patriot League conference, which has some competitive teams and and do some damage, but really on a national scale, like they didn't have those out of conference wins that like kind of boost the conference profile as a whole. So Army, we love the truth, Jake, obviously, but we kind of touched upon our like kind of live show. I think the conference has got to like do something to accommodate his members, so to like kind of free up their ability to like schedule like non-conference and just have a national profile. So I love the truth, but I think we're gonna go with Harvard here. That's just me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really have a strong feeling on this one way or another. And by word here, I'll put it up. These are the criteria. So this is what's being decided. If you're unfamiliar, this is what the committee is going off of. Strength of schedule index, results of the RPI. So this is what we always mention. Top 5 wins, top 10 wins. They have an 11 to 15 bucket here, but I've never really seen it mentioned. I think on their actual selection sheets, it's just 11 to 20. I think Mark's in the chat. He might be able to confirm that, but I've never seen 11 to 15 really cited. It's 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 16 to 20. Average RPI win, average RPI loss are more granular. Head-to-head, they obviously didn't play. Results versus common opponents, I think favors Harvard. I believe by Harvard beat BU, and Harvard lost to Colgate, and Harvard beat Yale. So that's 2-1. Army lost to BU and Colgate beat Colgate and who am I blanking? Yale. So I think it's 2-2 versus 2-1. Significant wins and losses, wins against ranked teams higher in RPI, lower than MIB. Location of contests, don't really think that's relevant. And then last one, which I think could be interesting tonight, is input from the Regional Advisory Committee, which is comprised of lacrosse coaches from all AQ conferences. Basically, this is they ask the coaches and they get their input. And, who would you pick? I will share now the Regional Advisory Committee, what the coaches are. So there's a Northeast region which is Ryan Poley from BU, who, of course, played both teams, Taylor Ray from St. Joe's, Connor Busick of Cornell, who, of course, played Harvard, Ken Taylor from Monmouth, Brad Loss from Bryant, Justin Turry from St. John's. The South region is Andy Whitley from Bellarmine. The Southeast region is Lars Tiffany from Virginia. And then out of the Western stronghold of New Brunswick, we have Brian Brecht at Rutgers. No clue how that happened, but
we're everywhere, Jake. Jersey's everywhere.
So we're having some kind of points. I think points in the chat. David Greenfield mentions, I think Harvard gets it. Army has a strong case, but the metrics favor Harvard. What else do we have? I think KM mentioned like the only objective criteria Army has is they have less losses. Fair. Harvard obviously would mention, well, hey, we played a tougher schedule. And Gil asking a coach in the tournament which teams he thinks should be in the tournament and potentially play against feels like a bad process. Yes, I think it's kind of I mean, maybe Busick would have to like recuse himself.
Yeah,
because he's involved. He's the number one seed. That could be it.
Is it only when their teams, right, or teams that their teams played? Because I remember famously a man of integrity, Coach Bresci, said no, ACC didn't cut it, including his own team in 2022. But I think that he had to leave when they're talking about the USC, or
you're not. So this came up a lot when like the NCAA basketball tournament this year, where the North Carolina was a team that was, I think, was the last team in, and was like that was the main Bubba conversation. And Bubba Cunningham, athletic director of North Carolina, was literally the head of the selection committee, and people were bringing it up. Well, he's not in the room when they make the conversation about North Carolina, and it's like, all right, but is he in the room when they're talking about all the other teams that are in? Like when they're talking about the teams North Carolina is competing with for the last spot, is he in the room for those? Because that kind of sways the factor here. And again, it's like this is the point. These guys are not on the committee. The committee itself is the two coaches on the committee are Randy, formerly St. Bonaventure head coach Randy Mearns, and Virginia assistant Kip Turner. The other three are administrators at, I think, Drexel, Ohio State, and Rutgers, I want to say. So that's if these guys coming into play would be if they wanted to solicit their opinion. It's what I would say is when people say the eye test is not in play, this is kind of the eye test, really, because you're asking the coaches, well, what do you think about these teams? Will it get there? We'll see. Here's what I'll say. If it gets to Army, or if Army gets the call, I have a strong suspicion that this is going to come up. That they're going to mention, we talked with the coaches on the regional advisory committee, what might be, we solicited their thoughts on what they thought about these teams, and there was a strong opinion that Army is a team who could play on Memorial Day weekend. Because I think that's the vibe I get from kind of reading people's thoughts, is that, well, if Harvard gets in, Harvard maybe could win a game. If Army gets in, people think Army might go to the Final Four. Now, do I necessarily agree with that? I don't know. Is that the case? I don't know. I think that's kind of I feel like how people think of this. And so if Army does get the call, again, I don't really know what if they want to pick Army, I think they're just going to pick Army. And I think they'll kind of find a rationale to do it. Because I don't know how you're not mentioning RPI. The resume, it's not like the resumes are over. It's not like Harvard has an overwhelmingly better resume than Army.
Yeah, it's not. One top 20 win more.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not sort of. Look, I'll feel bad for Harvard if they don't get in. They've had a really strong season. We like Jerry Byrne a lot, and they did some good things this year. Also, look, both these teams had a chance to really solidify their case and didn't do it. That's always kind of the thing with the bubble, is you had a chance to really slam the door shut. You didn't do it. And so Harvard could be Princeton. Harvard played Princeton, Cornell, those two teams 3 times. They lost all 3 games. Harvard did have, the bad loss to Colgate's now off the board. Army, it's kind of a similar story. You were the overwhelming favorites in your conference tournament, and you were at home, and you can win. So, I'm not going to be upset if Army gets in. I'll be happy for Army. I think both of these teams, look, both these teams are familiar with this situation. They have both lived on the bubble in the past. Harvard one year got to go their way, infamously. They got the benefit of the doubt. Army often has had it not go their way and not get the benefit of the doubt. If it happens, look, maybe it's Army's turn to get the benefit of the doubt. That's life on the bubble. So it's not a case to me where I don't view it like I did in 22, where I really thought the 2 teams that got in should have got in, or trying to think of another year. Like last year, I thought Maryland, I know there was a big thing with Maryland and Cornell. I thought that was the call was clear for Maryland. Austin Madronic asks, every single stat points to Harvard. No. Yeah, it does. Like if you're making like the criteria we just mentioned, results of the RPI, record against ranked teams, it's close. I'm not going to say it's not overwhelming, but Harvard's got the calls there. RPI itself, it's like 1 spot. Yeah, but Harvard's got it. Strength of schedule. Harvard had a better strength of schedule. If Harvard gets the call, it's going to be pretty easy to explain. We looked at all the data points, and Harvard is close but clearly ahead. If it's Army, I think they're going to say that we thought Army was the better team and kind of do it that way. But there's not a real point to be like, well, Army has a top, and this is kind of, as you mentioned, Safe, the results of this weekend kind of swung in Harvard's favor. Pardon me. If North Carolina stayed in the top 5 in RPI, that would have been Army's case. Well, we have the best win on the board. Well, then Syracuse won 2 games, and North Carolina got dump trucked by Duke. And so now Harvard can say we got the best win on the board. So KM asks, how many 4-loss teams with only 1 top 10 win have ever gotten that large? Good question. I know that Ohio State in 2022 is the famous case that they didn't have any top 10 wins. Ohio State literally got in because it was two teams for 3 spots: Harvard, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State beat both of them. That was Ohio State's case. We beat Notre Dame, we beat Harvard at a neutral location. If we beat these 2 teams on the field, we should get in. And they put Ohio State in, and then they just looked at Harvard and Notre Dame, and nobody talked about it. But Harvard's resume compared to Notre Dame's was very, very similar. That's how it happened. I'm not saying that's the only case of a team with no top 10 wins getting in. I just can't recall any other off the top of my head. Here's what I will say. The Patrick Stevens interviewed the head of the selection committee this week, and the committee is almost, I think, the exact same as it was last year. It's very, very similar. And I think maybe Bresci rotated off. And he said the criteria we used this last year, the way we did it last year, is going to be the way we do it this year. Now, last year, there weren't really many bubble calls because of what Princeton and Michigan did. But last year, they did tend to go by RPI a little bit more, is how I would say they sort of leaned on it, was going by the RPI. Generally, what I'll say is my feeling is that when it comes to the seeds, they usually go by there we go, Mark has it. Penn State last year was 11-4 and only had 1 top 10 win. Penn State this year, does Penn State this year have 4 losses? I think they don't. Yeah. And Penn State only has 1 top 10 win. So, man, Tam's killed the RPI game this year. They're 4th in RPI.
He's just cooking. It's like the accountant. He's
stayed there the entire year. Every time Penn State, you're like, I don't know, maybe Penn State will drop a little bit. It's like, no, they're just right there. Generally, my feeling is that when it comes to the seeds, they stay pretty close to RPI. When it comes to the bubble, they may lean on head-to-head more. So, because look, it's two teams. You're comparing two teams. The head-to-head is obviously going to be more valuable. But these teams didn't play head-to-head. So, we'll see what happens. I think both are on the table. I don't know. I kind of get a feel. Everyone's picking Harvard. I think like all the bracket projections at Harvard, and I think that's the right call. If you're looking at the criteria, that's the right call. You can't predict what the coaches might do, or what the committee. But I don't know. I just maybe have a feeling that if there's a surprise up our sleeves, that might be it. All right, we have a bunch of people in here, which is awesome. If you're in here, if you would be so kind, smash the like button. Hit subscribe. We will be live through the end of the selection show. And we'll also be live next week on YouTube after the first round games, Saturday night, after those 4 first round games, which Saturday should be the real big slate, because you're going to have the thank you, Charlie. Appreciate you, brother. You have the 2 play-in games with the 1 and 2 seeds with the play-in games should be on Sunday, because they usually don't like to make the play-in teams turn back around on a short notice and play Saturday. So the 2 play-in games, probably Cornell and Maryland, are going to be on Sunday. So that Saturday slate should be some really great games there. And the first round is, I think the first round is going to be pretty. And then, then Mark mentions this as well. Syracuse has a home game, so there you go. It's not super difficult to kind of. Cornell will play Sunday, Maryland will play Sunday, and Cuse will play Sunday. They just need one more team in that spot. Duke, I know when Duke has a home game, they usually play Sunday at times, but that might have been just because they've been the 1 or 2 seed. We'll kind of see where they go with that. I think these first round games are going to be pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at, we can kind of look at some bracket projections.
Actually, multiple ACC teams at Georgetown on the road. That's your reward for such a good season. Get a home game. You have one of these guys come to town. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Does Ohio State have a case for number 2 seed, Jake? This is a question that comes in from the 609 area in New Jersey.
Moving on.
Well, I was supposed to. What does Nick Myers and Tillman remind you of? Right? Or is that, or am I supposed to hold that? I don't know.
No, that was something else. I did like, it was cool. Till's they had a in typical fashion. It was, as always with those two, it was incredibly awkward. Like Tills is like congratulating him and like putting his arm around him, and neither guy looked like they really like wanted to be in that situation. It was cool, but it was also like about as awkward as you could make that interaction.
Before we go, we got 5 minutes. Rank them: the Connery handshake, the hug for Lars after losing in 2021, or last night.
The stare. The stare is incredible. That was incredible.
I'll throw a sneak. One of my favorite was I had to use the Curb Your Enthusiasm joke. I literally said, "Lord, Tillman, forgive me." Yeah, he got stuck at home because someone locked the door on him. That's great.
That was funny. Above average MTB dad says, "I want Army in, but that schedule and midseason loss to BU hurt." Army lost 2 games to Patriot League teams.
That's it.
There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. Like the Patriot League teams they lost to are good teams. BU's top 20, Colgate's top 20. But it's also, this is a comment there. I posted a thing on Twitter about Army's record under Joe Alberici by like a month. And man, especially in the last 5 and 10 years, they are great in February. They get out the blocks hot. They are amazing in March. They rarely lose in March. And then in April, it kind of trends down a little bit. And then in May, look, May is hard. You're kind of playing just win or lose games. So it's obviously a smaller sample. And at times there was a period where like the Patriot League tournament was usually held in April, so their last game in May would be sometimes like they play Notre Dame, but they play Hopkins like towards the end of the year. Look, those are good teams. It's just a little weird. I mean, we've seen how they've dominated the Patriot League in the regular season to a degree the last couple of years, and then the Patriot League tournament for whatever reason it just doesn't click in the same way. I don't know, and I just think maybe others disagree. You think I see Army in February and March, and they look like a top 5 team, and I just feel like towards back later in the year they just they don't look like the same team. They don't look like they have as much juice, as strong as they are in the beginning of the year. KM says Ohio State can make a solid argument to be above Princeton. Slightly better wins, one bad loss early. Let me go to the RPI page and just pull it up. All right. Let's look at it. So Ohio State has 2 top 5 wins to Princeton's 1, and they both have 3 top 10 wins. They both have 6 top 20 wins. I don't think that's very similar. I don't think it's enough to account for the bad loss. Now, yes, fair, the bad loss was their first game of the season. But as we mentioned in the criteria, time of loss or time of win and margin of victory does not matter. They all count the same. I mean, location of contest does matter. So like home, road, but time of it and where does not matter. Princeton, better RPI, better strength of schedule, pretty darn similar wins and no bad loss. I think that's Princeton. Also, personally, just from a perspective of, I would talk about bracket integrity. I think it's better if it's Cornell, Maryland, Princeton, Ohio State than Cornell, Maryland, Ohio State, Princeton. I think that's better. I don't believe that the top 4 seeds are all going to get to the Final Four, but if they did, I would much rather have Ivy League versus Big Ten and Ivy League versus Big Ten than 2 conference rematches. I don't want to see Cornell, Princeton, or Ohio State, Maryland in the semifinal.
So you would go Ivy Big.
Yeah, I think that's better. I think it's better for the bracket.
Better for. Yeah.
I mean, would you rather see rematches of the 2 games we saw this weekend, the semifinals, or Cornell, Ohio State, Maryland, Princeton?
Yeah, it's like that saves the potential for if they have to have a rematch, the championship game is the rematch.
Yeah,
of that conference.
And again, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think all top 4 are going to get there. I think there will be a surprise somewhere, but to me, that's just better. All right, it's 9:30. The women's bracket has been revealed. Until we get going, if you guys have any questions you want us to discuss, want us to get into, please throw them in the chat. We had one earlier. Let me get back to this. Drew Brennan, good pal, asked, "Hey guys, Drew Brennan here, ND Lacrosse beat writer, host of the Exit 77 Relax podcast. Do you 2 think Notre Dame hosts or goes on the road?" I think that they will host. Where they are seated, to me, is the question. I could see them being 7th, and I think that's where Mark, in his projection, has them. He has them as the 7th seed, playing against. Let me see. I think I don't know who he has them against.
He's hosting Harvard. They're hosting Harvard.
Okay, they're hosting Harvard. Patrick Stevens has them as the 8, hosting Richmond, and then Terry Foy has them going on the road to Penn State. So all 3 options on the table there. I kind of have a hard time seeing them. I think that Duke's resume is better, and I know Notre Dame did beat them. I think Duke's resume is slightly better, and I just think that a 3-spot jump in RPI from like their RPI to the seed is kind of rare for them, is what I would say. Kind of how the committee does it. But if Duke does get the 7, Quint's hair just like shocked me. I just had like a, like a double take. It's kind of like how I mentioned that I always think Charlie Toomey's
like
ball.
Early Jason Bateman, Hogan family. Bateman.
I gotta tweet that out. It's just
I got fucking Hogan's family Bateman. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's just from blast in the past. No glasses for Kark, Drew, yeah, while Jake tweets that out, I do think they're going to host. I think the team that probably is not going to be hosting from the ACC is Carolina, and which is kind of just like kind of a shocking drop for them. But I think they it's high fifth and first bracketology and stuff. But but I think Carolina's going to be the ACC team that's going to go on the road, and Notre Dame should be hosting either 7 or 8. Oh, we're finally live. Let's go. 9:30.
Yeah, I think if it comes, here we go. Cornell is the number 1 seed.
I'd do it.
So there you go. The Big Red, 14-1. Man, they just Safe. You said it in our group chat. You're gonna have to shoot your way out of trouble if you want to beat Cornell.
Absolutely.
This CJ Kirst had 2 goals at one point. I think they had 17 goals. It's preposterous. He's the best player in the country, but I keep saying that he doesn't need to have the ball for them to be successful. We saw it last year with Duke. When Brendan O'Neill didn't have the ball, the offense just didn't work. This Cornell offense, if CJ Kirst doesn't have the ball, he can play off ball. They have Ryan Goldstein, who was maybe the best player in the Ivy League tournament. They have shooters. It's a hell of an offense. Now, I will say their defense has shown some potential kind of red light on blinker kind of moments. All right, here we go. Cornell against this is the plan, but are they going to really the 8 seed? Are they going to do the plan? Okay, so Albany and this is Albany and Siena. Yeah. This will be Albany and Siena. I know people mention Albany hosting that game, or like Siena going, here we go. Now we're going to get the 8 seed. Yeah, Albany, Siena. They are taking their time with this. Now we're getting an Albany watch party.
9:30, not enough.
It's 9:34, fellas. I mean, let's just get to the bracket. Remember when they used to do like a coach interview on these things?
Oh.
Siena should host. Siena has the better. I think they're better in RPIs. That game should be played at Siena. They'll probably play it at Albany because it's the better facility and stuff like that, which is fair, but I don't know. It feels kind of a little harsh to Siena. It's a 10-minute bus ride either way, though. All right, this will be an interesting one. North Carolina gets the 8 seed. Wow. That leads me to believe that they are ordering this by
RPI?
Is my gut.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Can you?
Ooh.
Wow, that's an interesting one. That was the one call. Shout out Terry Foy. That was the one call I did not see happening.
I bet they're hosting Richmond because Richmond's 8 on the RPI now.
That'd be my guess, yeah.
Instead of Richmond hosting North Carolina.
There it is. UNC Richmond. Noon on set. First game. Man, that's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people, I'd be interested to see the money line on that one. I think there's going to be a lot for the Spiders.
Okay. All right.
All right. So that's an interesting
first surprise or interesting.
Yeah, first interesting call. All right, Penn State gets the 5 seed. Yeah, I think this is RPI. Because Syracuse is, Penn State's 4.
Yeah.
Right, in RPI. I saw Syracuse. Syracuse was ahead of Penn State across the board, I think, in the projections. So Penn State 5 Eastern ESPN. This might tell us because this could be Notre Dame. It's Colgate. That'll be Saturday 5 Eastern on ESPNU.
Raiders.
The Raiders. I'll tell you, that's a great draw for Penn. Colgate's a good team, but these two teams played early in the year. It's a rematch. And
yeah, we were thinking like Georgetown.
yeah, I mean, Colgate's a tough game. It's a good team playing confident, but I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Considering like they want to avoid rematches, I'm surprised they went with this game. Just kind of Ohio State 4. All right. Well, this is noon on ESPN2. ESPN2?
Ooh.
All right. We got a run in here.
Hey, everybody. Winnipeg's making me stay up a little bit later.
Ohio State's getting who? This big. Who do the Buckeyes get? They're drawing this one out.
My God, they are stalling.
Feels like a bomb might be about to drop. All right, can we get the team? What is happening?
I have it. I might be a little.
Oh,
ooh, that is interesting.
Wow.
Oh, that's a spicy meatball.
Wow.
Oh, man.
That's why they're putting it on the deuce.
That's ESPN. That's ESPN. That's big time, baby.
Oh, man.
That's a good one. Hello, everyone. I'm joining you guys for a little bit because, Jake, did you just see what happened in hockey?
No, man, I'm locked in. I'm in the heat of the fire here.
I'm turning a tanker.
This is live. This is live television, brother.
Yeah. Well, I've been locked in on this too, but the Jets tied it up with a second left.
Oh my God, that is crazy. Listen, I'm bro, I'm here. I'm in this thing. All right, I think Cuse is the one we're going to see next, or maybe they'll go bottom of the bracket, or they'll save Cuse opponent for last. This is going to be the tell. It's going to be Syracuse again, Army or Harvard. Ryan, who do you want to see?
I think I would rather have a second shot at Harvard than having to go up against Army.
I can't believe they did that to the Big Ten champion.
Geography, baby.
You see, criteria. If Notre Dame, look, this is Notre Dame this year. When Notre Dame's schedule works, it works, and when it doesn't, it does. Notre Dame played how many games safe this year? 12. Only 11 regular season games. And the thing is, like, Notre Dame's strength of schedule was 10. The reason Notre Dame's strength of schedule is 10 is because I'm pretty sure the selection committee goes on strength of schedule by your, isn't it your top 10? It's the average RPI of your top 10 opponents. Well, for example, Syracuse is second in strength of schedule. Do you know why Syracuse is second in strength of schedule? Because they had 6 games against ACC opponents. And then they played Maryland, Cornell, and Johns Hopkins non-conference. And boom, there you go. That's a heck. Notre Dame plays 5 ACC games. And then they play, obviously, Ohio State and Maryland. Then you have Georgetown maybe in there as well. But after that, that's 8 games. That was it for Notre Dame. They played Penn. They played Cleveland State. They played Marquette. It just, when it doesn't work, it really can kind of come back and burn you. And I think it hurt Notre Dame this year. Look, also, I mean, it's just, they were 8-4. Like that's so. I don't think anyone is going to weep for Notre Dame. I think people are going to feel bad for Ohio State here.
Yeah.
And that's look, it's a fact of life of the tournament. Just how this kind of works. We all kind of know how it goes. That is a tough matchup for Ohio State, certainly. But look, Ohio State beat Notre Dame. I mean, at their house. See, Brigade Review asks how many flights so far. Cornell, or Carolina, Richmond, not a flight. Cornell, Albany, and Siena, not a flight. Penn State, Colgate. I don't think that's a flight.
No, that's not a flight. That's just a ride down.
So then no flights.
That's just a ride up US 15.
What else is going to be? Cuse. I don't think Cuse is getting a flight.
No, yeah, because Army or Harvard, that's bus.
Maryland would get a flight because it's going to be Air Force or Bobby Moe.
And
Bobby Moe
would get Georgetown.
Maryland, Georgetown is like the 2 seed.
Air Force has to be a flight. Yeah, Air Force will be a flight.
Well, it's Air Force Bobby Moe, right?
Yeah, Air Force Bobby Moe.
So I'm guessing they're gonna have that's gonna be in Moon Township then.
So I'm guessing
they have to do 2 cross country flights.
It's gonna be Princeton. It's gonna be Towson going to Princeton, right?
Oh, that's right, Towson to Princeton.
So Towson is going to Princeton. Georgetown's going to Duke, and then the question is just:
is it Army or is it Harvard?
Yeah,
going to Cuse. Yeah, not really a lot of flights to go around, just potentially Air Force, but you hit 2 birds with 1 stone if you haven't started in Pennsylvania, and then you get them on a bus to College Park. Wait, and sorry, and it's Colgate UNC, right? Or is it Colgate Penn State? It's Colgate Penn State, so yeah, that's not a bus. That's not a train. And Richmond UNC is a bus as well, so yeah.
Cuse is going to be the 6th. It's going to be Army or Harvard. Now here's the thing that might be interesting, and we're getting deep in the weirds here. They have done 2 first round rematches already in Penn State Colgate and Ohio State Notre Dame. Are they more comfortable doing Penn State Colgate as a rematch because they know there isn't a 3rd rematch? Because Harvard Cuse will be a rematch. That'd be 3 rematches. They don't like to do rematches.
But they're already doing rematches, so I don't know. Yeah,
but my point is that 3 would be – there's some ways – look, with how these ACC teams are stacked up towards the end, there's good – like that's just – the ACC is going to be 6, 7, 8. Like it's really – Notre Dame has to go to 5 or, someone had to – because that's just part of the like Adam mentions, I hate Indy, but having to go on the road to OSU.
They just revealed it all in one shot. I'll let you guys see it. I know who it is. I'll let you guys get your reactions when it comes on your screens.
I don't think they did that.
They just did for me. I'm a little bit ahead of you guys. I know the last team in. I'm not going to spoil it.
All right, there it is. Harvard is the last team. I can't believe they just did that all in one. All that they just built up like 15 minutes.
They didn't mean to do it. They showed the Princeton reaction, and then they went back to blank.
That is hilarious.
It's live. It's live.
So Princeton, Towson, and Syracuse, Harvard.
Boy, baby, Syracuse. Oh my God, they're going back into it 1 by 1.
Like nothing ever happened. Just you make your own reality. Just keep going.
So we got the Tiger Derby in Princeton.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Look, what did I tell you, Ryan? This is live television. We're just in the heat. We're in the thick of it here.
Madeline. By the way, the Princeton women got absolutely hosed. They go from being number 5 in the country to going on the road.
This is a fascinating. Yeah, this is an interesting bracket, man.
Syracuse's getting the 5 o'clock slot because they have Cornell playing the night slot.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Cornell's got the night game. I guess they're going to have to speed things up with getting things cleared off from graduation.
That's incredible. Syracuse has never been. Has Syracuse ever played a home game that wasn't in that 7:30 spot?
Can't remember the last time. And they got Carmelo doing a commencement speech, so
maybe you can hang around for the game. 3 rematches is bad. That's kind of takes the day. I'm still excited for the first round. I mean, you got Notre Dame, Ohio State in there, which is big. Duke, Georgetown's a really interesting game. North Carolina, Richmond, but 3 rematches. Penn State playing Colgate is just.
That's the reason. They should have put Colgate to Princeton and Towson to Penn State.
Oh, Ryan just said is it 4? Oh, yeah, because Cornell's playing.
Yeah, Cornell could potentially play Albany. Or didn't they play both Albany and Siena?
Did they play Siena?
I don't think so, but let me double check. They did play Albany. They did not play Siena.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, but I mean, quarterfinal wise, Princeton rivalry, no matter what, in the quarterfinals, they get past Towson. Either get Cuse or Harvard.
I think Siena could definitely beat Albany, but be that as it may, that's just 4 first-round rematches potentially is. The Penn State Colgate feels like when they put Bryant to Hopkins. Duke Georgetown Saturday night. That's going
to get weird.
That's tasty. That game, I mean, depending, Ryan always mentions the weather situation. They could play that. That game could finish Sunday morning. I tell you, man, I kind of like the Hoyas in that game a little bit. I could see that one. Man, it felt like one where the big story was going to be the 1 or 2 Cornell Maryland was going to get maybe a potentially like wildly different path. Like if the 1 seed had to play Notre Dame, and then like Maryland got Duke or Georgetown potentially, and now it's just like they got the same path really. They got an ACC team. Yeah, I hope that we have. There's only 10 minutes left, so I don't know if they're going to interview. I don't think they're going to interview anybody. But how they put this bracket together is intriguing me. Here's what I'll say, folks. We spend a lot of time on this every year, and I'm not saying we're going to stop spending a lot of time on this every year because look, it's content, and I mean it's fun and it's interesting to talk about. The RPI is Cornell 1 seed, Maryland 2 seed, Princeton 3 seed, Penn State 4 5 seed, Ohio State is 5th, they're the 4 seed, Syracuse is 6th, Duke is 7th, and then Richmond, North Carolina is. When it comes down to it, they are going to probably revert to the RPI. And they say that and this was something that Mark and Terry Foy did on the show. They did a podcast Saturday morning. I'd encourage you to listen to it. Terry made a good point. Like they say that the RPI is the method or something by which we evaluate teams. It's not the actual RPI number. I mean, and again, I'm not saying that I think that the RPI has a lot of problems. I think generally it gets the teams right.
I'm going to duck out. It's almost overtime in Winnipeg, and then I'm going to hit the hay. So we'll chat you guys midweek. Very interesting bracket on our hands.
Ryan, quickly.
Yes.
Off the dome, Final Four.
Cornell, Maryland, Princeton, and maybe Penn State. I think, at this juncture. Just right off the dome, right off the bat, I think that'll be my Final Four.
All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.
Right.
All right. Yeah, Mark says seeding is fine. The problem is the matchups. Yeah, it's hard. I just think that Penn State Colgate one just feels like it's thrown a whole wrench in the. It's like throwing a, I don't know, like a wrench in the blender. I think you could do. I feel like you were going to run into putting Notre Dame on the road is unfortunate. You just kind of like when you do that, it throws a spanner into the works in general. The bracket is a lot easier if Notre Dame's playing a home game, but Notre Dame on the road does throw a lot of. Here's the next. Mark says Notre Dame should have been a Penn State. Yeah, because that gets you. Ohio State would play. Who? Ohio State could have got Colgate. And then you eliminate one rematch there. Yeah, that feels better to me. I guess, or you could have done Georgetown, but then you do. Who does Duke play? Because then Notre Dame would have been in Ohio. Notre Dame would have been. It would have been Notre Dame at Penn State. Would Cuse have played Colgate and Harvard gone to Duke?
Yeah,
so Colgate. So for the 4 spot, Ohio State and Georgetown. The 5 spot, Notre Dame at Penn State. The 6 spot, Colgate at Cuse. And the 7 spot would be Harvard at Duke. Yeah, I think that's probably more equitable. Their integrity. I think I like the matchups better this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just kind of. I like Duke, Georgetown, and Ohio State, Notre Dame are probably my most anticipated first round game. Here we go. That's a good question. Folks in the chat, we still got a bunch of us in here with us. Smash the like button if you will. Tell us what's your most anticipated first round game. Safe. What about you? How about this? Not counting Notre Dame, Ohio State, which we'll talk about, but I think that's the answer for everyone. How about top 2 most anticipated first round games?
Georgetown Duke's going to be great. If we're not counting Ohio State, Notre Dame, that's my number 1. But and even just for like how they're playing right now, and potentially, and just like how it could be like. Got a couple questions in goal with Penn State. I think that Colgate Penn State could be interesting. Just like Colgate does not, will under the pressure. I don't think they will. They made a great run in the Patriot League. Probably a few people, but you counted the Raiders as dark horse.
Dark horse team.
This is the courage that people come to this pod, Jake, for that you displayed in the preseason. But Jake said, but yeah, you nailed it. Notre Dame, Ohio State's gonna be great. Yeah, just great theater. There's been 2 at Ohio State Stadium, stuff like that. But yeah, outside of that, I'm really excited for Duke, Georgetown, and I think Penn State, Colgate could be just a fun game to watch.
A lot of KM and Mark say Richmond, North Carolina. I think that's going to be the. Okay, here's a good question. Are any of the road teams a favorite in round 1?
No.
1.5. I think Notre Dame might be a 1-goal favorite over Ohio State.
Ooh, all right.
It's Notre Dame. It's I think Notre Dame might be a favorite. I think they'll be the betting favorite. I'd be curious what it is on Massey. I might look that up. I think that's a pick'em game. I think Carolina probably is the favorite over Richmond. I think Richmond's going to get a lot of kind of people going for them with that. Richmond can win some faceoffs, potentially combat Wambach. Richmond plays tremendous defense. They rank
DK Jersey has them +2. Richmond.
+2. Okay.
Duke -2. Georgetown. They're literally like being fed into the sentence. This is great. Colgate +4 against Penn State.
Richmond is 6th in adjusted defensive efficiency. North Carolina is 15th. Richmond is, safe, get this. Richmond is 6th in adjusted offensive efficiency at 37.3. North Carolina is 7th at 37.2. And North Carolina is slightly better in save percentage, and there's a big gulf in faceoff. I think that's the question. Can Richmond make it a close game at the faceoff dot? Because a banged up Owen Duffy hasn't looked right in. I think he played really well against Cuse, but hasn't really looked right in about a month against a physical Richmond defense. I think that Richmond can win faceoffs, and if the Richmond can win faceoffs and they can keep this game from being, we always talk about, don't let Carolina get on some of those runs where they just turn. Turn the game 3 or 4 goals, turn it into a, blow it open and everything. That's the question. I'll also be honest. I know the save percentage statistics might favor John Fricaro. I remember that game last year against Maryland. He did not look good. That was a night game, rain, but I saw him again against Duke. His mechanics, his stance, the way that he's so kind of upright, that wide base, he can't explode to the ball. And I don't know, that just gives me some pause. I think this is a Carolina team that I think its defense is good. I don't think it's great. I think it's a team, if your defense isn't good, I think you need great goaltending play. If your defense isn't great, I think you need your goalie to get you 2 to 3 saves, and I'm not sure that I feel that. So also, to be completely honest, more NCAA tournament experience for Richmond than North Carolina. So that's not to say Carolina can't win again. They will be at home, but I think it's kind of played out how I said going, if you told me all those ACC teams, if you said all those ACC teams can make the Final Four, I would have said, yeah. If you said they all could lose in the first round, I would say, yeah. But I feel better about Cuse and Harvard Cuse and Notre Dame than I did about Carolina and Duke. The bracket kind of confirms that for me. Duke at Georgetown, the scoring droughts we see from Duke and the attack unit that of the top 8 seeds, does Duke have the weakest attack unit? Maybe Ohio State. I mean, I don't know. Ohio State. They're all like Marinier. Does Marinier play attack? Marinier plays more up top. They're more interchangeable parts on Ohio State. But you said they got shooters and they got Dodgers. I mean, Ohio State ran by some Maryland shorties last night.
Awesome. Yeah.
They got Garrett Haas. Yeah, he's a shifty guy. Duke, Molliver, and McAdory need to have a great game for them to win. I like their midfield. It's been pretty consistent, but there's not a game breaker out there either. Molliver and McAdory need to play great for Duke to win, and you're going up against Ty Banks and those guys for Georgetown. And I mentioned it, Georgetown defensively, when they slide, dude, they ain't sliding they're sliding to hit you. I mean, if you want to go over the middle against Georgetown, be prepared to get put in a body bag. I mean, they're going to, and the question with Georgetown is the offense. The offense has come around a bit. I do think that it will have definitely struggles against Duke's defense, which is tremendous, with Charlie Johnson at the pole, Aiden McGuire at short stick. This is going to be a 1st to 10 wins type of game. These two teams are kind of very mirror images of each other. But that feels like Now, Duke has embraced that vibe some this year. Is playing these defensive games, but that feels like what Georgetown wants. is just a junkyard dog type of game. So again, I can see them going either way, but that's those two do kind of jump off the page as Gil mentioned about buying low.
I wish we noticed this while Ryan was on. Like, Ryan's a big proponent of Syracuse Princeton rivalry. We could potentially get that at Stewart.
Is that a Hofstra?
This is Ryan's dream. Syracuse Princeton game at Hempstead for the Elite Eight round. Like, wow,
man.
With potentially Cornell. I don't think he has any really interest for Richmond, North Carolina, but Cornell playing in that same doubleheader.
That is just box. That's box office. I mean, that's money. And then you get Maryland at Annapolis. I think I'm going to go to that. Then you would get what? Maryland. You get. I mean, either way.
Maryland, Georgetown, Annapolis potentially, or Duke. George is the Maryland.
Yeah, Penn State, Ohio State, probably, or Penn State, Notre Dame. Some big brands there. Yeah, that's that's interesting. All right. What else do we got here? We want to do some Final Four predictions?
Yeah.
All right. If you in the chat, tell us what you think. We got making the Final Four. Look in the bracket, and we will talk about it right now. All right, Safe. What you feeling?
Going to go Cornell. Going to go like top down, bracket-wise. Okay. I'm sticking with him, Jake. Ohio State.
Okay.
The way this broke out, dare to dream Cuse, but I'm going Cuse, just like upset Princeton.
Safe. You picked Princeton to win the national title.
I know. Am I going to do it? No, all right, I'm going to stick with it, Jake. I'm going to stick with Princeton. It's so, like, I didn't think it was break like this for Syracuse.
It's a good.
It's a good bracket, like a revenge match at home.
I think the bracket with Penn State was better, but I do think that's a good. I think it's a good bracket.
That's a winnable bracket. If someone gave you the up and down season Syracuse has a Chiefs crowd, which we got Ryan.
Yeah,
then you're like, you're going to be at Stewart. You have to take care of
Ryan mentions all the time. Cuse ain't played Stewart in like 15 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to be like an all orange crowd. Like, you get to play Harvard again, revenge game at home. Get hopefully take care of business. Then get Hempstead, and then against potentially Prince, a rivalry. Team. That's just kind of what the '90s were. Princeton, huge.
That's huge. Yeah,
80s to an extent. But so I'm all right. I'm going to stick with Princeton. I just can't jump off that horse I've rode it this entire season. And Maryland.
I think Cornell and Maryland are 90%. Now, shout out Gil. He's got UNC. So I love the Bull. I mean, look, we got the only so far with Mark, Gil, Drew Brennan. Any of you guys keep going. Share us your Final Four predictions. Also, if you guys have any questions for us, please throw them at us. I'll be here for a little bit more. And we'd love to tackle them. Again, thank you guys so much for being here with us this evening. I think Cornell, Maryland, like 90%. The playing game, those two teams are going to win that. Cornell, the one seed has only fell short of the quarterfinals one time, the 16-team era. There's been some close ones. Mark says we could have an all-ACC Final Four. We could have. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, look, they had to break those teams up. Gil says most will be different. Cornell probably kills UNC, but I think I'm more scared of UNC that can run with them than like a Georgetown or Duke style. All right, this is an interesting question, Safe. What's the better path of beating Cornell? Is it to get them in a shootout, or is it to drag them into in the mud?
It's going to be kind of weird, but I think a little bit of both. I think you got to go in thinking we're going to score 16 goals or 17, like a bare 15, minimum.
I think you got to think getting to 14 or 15. 16, 17. I just don't think if Cornell's scoring 18 goals, Cornell's going to win.
It's exactly defensively. Yeah, you just got to just grind them. Like, I mean, not obviously like within the rules, but like make sure they're just not comfortable. Like, do your best where you can with Crosse, limit him, but like you can't focus on him as you just noted today. Like he only had 2 goals through 3.5 quarters of the Princeton game. They had like 17 goals. So it's like they got other people on there, but like I just think like mentally, like if you're Maryland and like that like is just disciplined and you can get the face off to prevent them going back to back sometimes. Then maybe you're like, all right, we're gonna get 60% on the face off, take the full shot clock or at least 70 seconds every single possession, just slow it up, and maybe. But like I think like Cornell will just like maybe you may be able to slow them down, but I don't think you're like going to be able to. And if your goal is like, hey, we're going to try to keep this to like 10-9, 9-8. Like that's always Cornell's like within striking distance. They can score like 3 or 4 goals in like a couple of minutes. So it's just like you may do your best, and you're like, have a 2-goal lead in the fourth, and then you can't. I don't think any team's gonna be able to hold them to single digits for an entire 60 minutes. Like it's like maybe for.
I think you need a team that can pick their spots. So I think I see Gil's point with Carolina. They do have Wambach. That's always a weapon. I worry that John Ficarro against Cornell. But the thing with Carolina is, and to me, I view it the same way of like Duke and Georgetown against Maryland, is that Carolina is just like a worse version of Cornell. The offense is great, can go on runs. The defense has moments of being good, but also can struggle. Good goalie, maybe not great. If Carolina's going to win, it's going to be. I mean, credit to Carolina, they did win that grinder at Duke. That was impressive. But if Carolina's going to run, it's probably going to be on the backs of those 2 guys, Duffy and Petro. I don't think that's the game that gets Cornell. Conversely, like Duke-Georgetown, it's like Duke and Georgetown are just kind of like worse versions of Maryland. So I don't know if that's you. I think you need a team against Cornell that when it's time to run, you can run. Like when it's time to push in transition, because Cornell will give you some opportunities. You push in transition and okay, hang on. Mark just did me something. Terry Floyd tweeted this out. At 9:33 p.m., Quint said, only one team in the field with 2 losses, which is Ohio State. So did he like I assume it was probably like just Freudian slip. But did he like spoil that Army wasn't in the field? He said that a dime. Man, between that and just dropping the whole bracket and like what a poor Army fans. I mean, just that whole thing of like teasing Notre Dame, Ohio State for like 10 minutes, and then just being like, "Oh, well," it's just what an incredible
time. Yeah, it's
incredible 10 minutes of television. All right,
I did try to get a coach. And the coach was like, 9:45? Yeah, I'm good.
Someone's like, brother, I'm going to watch film. I think if you need a team that can pick their spots with Cornell. When it's time to run, they can run. But when it's time to play slow and grind out possessions and hit some of those late shots in the shot clock, and kind of get them, maybe throw different looks defensively at them. Who's got the best, the defense most varied. That to me indicates two teams that I think could do that. I don't know if Ohio State can push enough in transition. I think Ohio State is a great half-court team. They might be 2 or 3 best half-court teams in the country. Adam Hopkins is playing in the NIT. It'll be Hopkins and Virginia, Hopkins, Army, and BU in the NIT. So Ohio State's great. I don't know if Ohio State could push enough and pick their spots to that degree. They do have the goalie with Fiok.
That's my thing. Yeah,
it's always a weapon having the goalie. Sorry, Michigan. Michigan missed the NIT. Michigan's NCAA tournament was when they beat Maryland in March. That's tough to say. The two teams I look at with Cornell are Notre Dame and Maryland. Notre Dame could run in transition and score. Notre Dame could also grind out the shot clock. Kavanaugh can create something. They know they can play at a lot of different speeds. I think Notre Dame could get Cornell to 13-12 and win. Or maybe even Notre Dame. If Notre Dame's hot offensively, they might get to 15 or 16. Maryland, I think, could get them to 13-12. Kind of similar to how Penn State had it a little bit. And what Penn State did at Cornell, that'd be interesting. I'd like to see Penn State Cornell again. We never that game. We just didn't. Penn State was down their entire starting attack, and Cornell obviously kind of gacked it at the end. Penn State kind of did that. Like Alex Ross stayed in front of CJ Kirst about as well as anyone has all year. And they kept Cornell. Cornell got a couple runs that meant they kind of stretched a bit, but they kept them within touching distance without obviously starting attack. Penn State threw a zone at them a lot. That's what Penn State does. Very defensive looks. Maryland to me is we've seen the thing with these Big Ten teams is, and this is part of I'll mention kind of my main thing I'm interested to see is in the Big Ten there's no transition play. None of these Big Ten teams allow transition. It's just half court ball the entire way. We've seen Maryland have moments in the think of the Notre Dame game where they really struck in transition. But we also know that if Maryland can drag the shot clock down and win faceoffs and make it a grinded out game, that's Maryland's kind of bag. So those are the two teams that I was now. Am I going to say either of them are favored against Cornell? No, but those are the two teams I kind of look at. So anyhow, I realize I'm doing my Final Four prediction here. Cornell, Maryland, I think will make it. I think there's going to be some team that comes out of here kind of from nowhere.
Cuse?
I think Cam mentioned it. Cuse is a seed. They're 6. We've seen it happen. Cam says the most difficult corner is Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Penn State.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to pick Notre Dame. I don't know. I think the NCAA tournament experience is a big part of it. They still have the great face-off play with Will Lynch, Hagstrom as well. The one thing with Notre Dame that gives me big pause is Richie Ardelli, not a freshman, but his first time in the tournament. Always, as a general rule, I kind of just always say fade freshman goalies in the tournament. Or, guys in the first time. Like, true redshirt freshman, true freshman, fade them. I think Richie is really good, but that always kind of gives me pause. But I just think a rematch against Ohio State, that's a game that their team they're familiar with. Could probably make that work. And then Penn State or Colgate, I kind of like their draw on that one. And then I'll go. I think the question for Cuse against Princeton is just the matchup I really like for Cuse. John Mullen against Princeton's weakness is face-off, and Syracuse might have the best face-off guy in the country. Both teams, goalies, first time in the tournament. When McCool plays the way he played this weekend, Syracuse can beat anybody. Now, can he keep that going for 2 or 3 more games, 4 or 5 weeks? That's the question. But he's been really strong. I think Cuse is just, it's meeting the moment in the stage. Because Cuse can win faceoffs, and we see with Princeton that's still their defense is good. I don't think their defense is good enough to withstand. Look, there's very few, but there's some teams whose defense is good enough to withstand losing faceoffs. Like they just find they just can grind out long defensive possessions. I don't know that that's Princeton's game, and the bracket. Why not Princeton versus Penn State versus Towson and Princeton versus Colgate? Adam, my guess here would be Colgate is evaluated ahead of, Colgate's evaluated ahead of Towson, but then Colgate probably should have been evaluated ahead of Georgetown too. I mean, Colgate beat. Do I have the RPI? Like Colgate and RPI finished. Colgate finished 15th in RPI.
They were just
Colgate beat 3 top 20 teams. Georgetown didn't beat any top 20 teams.
Harvard, Army, BU. I mean, if it weren't for the Bucknell Lehigh losses, that average RPI loss would look so much even better than it is.
Yeah, like
Colgate's would be better, and the average RPI loss would be much better than 58 Bucknell.
Colgate's strength of schedule is 17th. Georgetown's 35th. Look, I know. Look, I think I'm probably going to pick Georgetown to make the quarterfinals. I love Georgetown, but Colgate had a better season than Georgetown did as far as, like Georgetown's overseeded. That's a name.
It's crazy looking at Mark's breakdown, the spreadsheet format, and just nothing underneath Georgetown for wins.
They didn't beat anybody. Like, that's a reputation kind of pick there. Oh, it's Georgetown. That's just not. I mean, I don't for Colgate. You're probably playing a rematch either way, going to the Dome or going to Penn State. I don't know that it really makes a difference in terms of your positioning. The matchup, I don't know if you really care either way, but yeah. Cuse, the matchup is there for them against Princeton. The crowd could be there as well. It's just a matter of can they handle that moment and stage. Gil says Notre Dame slight favorites on FanDuel.
Yeah. They're up here on DraftKings. Notre Dame is favored 1.5. Ohio State plus 1.5.
I think the committee just got lazy. Just feels like they're like, well, we don't have to really make any calls. So, I mean, look, I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to watch Ohio State Notre Dame. Cuse Harvard should be. I think Cuse will get it this time, but I think that should be a shootout. Pretty much.
Orange -3 there. Duke -2.5 against Georgetown. I think you ever did Penn State -4 against Colgate. I don't have the Princeton against the Jersey team. Carolina's -1.5 against Richmond.
I'm gonna say. A good point. Cuse Harvard will be like a Big Ten football score. 20-17, 17-14, something like that. All right, screw it. Cornell, Notre Dame, Cuse, Maryland. I'll regret picking Cuse, but sometimes you gotta live a little. Safe, who you pick?
Futures. Without my pick winner, or what's it?
Yeah, who's winning all?
Cornell. I mean, there's something about like Ohio State. There's like it's just a dream season. It would be great if they pulled it off. But I just think it's Cornell season all year long. They've been really just dominant. I'm going to go Cornell. They got plus 135 Cornell on DraftKings, plus 450 Maryland, plus 700 Ohio State, plus 700 Notre Dame.
Princeton is
plus 800.
I'd be curious. Princeton was at like plus 900 a month ago.
Princeton's up there. It's just they won't show me Jersey. Okay. Penn State plus 9. Houston's decent value. If you're looking for value out there.
The last point I'll make about this is, and I'm really intrigued to see this, is how do these teams look when they get out of their conference? I think is more intriguing this year than any other. If you want to poke holes at Cornell, what I would say is the bulk of Cornell's best, almost all of their best performances and wins are in Ivy League play. They did, and I don't mean that as to say the Ivy's bad, because it's not. Beating Princeton twice is incredibly impressive, especially the fact that neither game wound up being all that close. I mean more, and Karp kind of said this on the in that game. He's like, when you think of the Ivy League, it's offense. Where is the best offense played? It's the Ivy League. That's Cornell's game. It's these shootouts, up tempo, end to end, where the game is decided by who has the best offensive talent on the field. What happens when Cornell maybe plays in Ohio State? That's going to give them a totally different look, or Notre Dame. Heck, even we saw Cornell against Richmond. Richmond give Cornell problems for stretch there. They were up big in that game. What does Cornell look like if it's outside of if someone does get them into a defensive game? What does that look like? Can their defense hold up?
That was one thing I was saying is, I kind of was reluctant of making them number one at the early part then they kind of just separate themselves from Princeton. Like, it's like undeniable. But it was like Cornell's schedule didn't have ACC opponents. They played one Big Ten team that they lost to. Like, they beat Syracuse, forgive me. That was
1-1.
They 1-1. And I just was like, I was just like, how are they going to do if they had to go up against Notre Dame or Ohio State or, Maryland? I know you've been kind of reserved there about like Maryland's chances, but same thing. Like, how are they going to do with a defense and a goalie like Mac with that kind of experience?
I think it goes the same way for. I'll let you kind of Ohio State and Maryland. Like the Big Ten has been for 2 months. There's been no transition. What's the most offensive game played in the Big Ten this year? That Ohio State Hopkins game. Like other than that, it's Ohio State beat Maryland 14. Ohio State won 10-8 to win the Big Ten. It was both semifinals were 10-8. The Big Ten is about defense and goaltending. Well, what happens if Maryland or Ohio State has to score 15 to win? Can that happen? How do they? Maryland doesn't have a real top-notch offensive All-American level player. Like, if they need to put the ball in the hands of one guy, what happens? Or if they need a guy to be like, hey, we need 6 points from you today. Same with Ohio State. How does that look? The ACC's best non-conference win outside the ACC is Michigan.
Yeah.
All these ACC teams, I think Gil's mentioned this, like this ACC thing is like a revolving door. Every week we change who we think the best team in the ACC is because they just beat each other. Like someone gets hot, and then Notre Dame looked good there for a second, and then they lost. They lost to Cuse badly to end the year here, or they lost to Cuse twice. North Carolina looked like they were humming along. They started 2-0, and then they lost, I think, 2 of their last 3, or they lost to Notre Dame by a bunch, and they lost to Duke. That game was over in the first quarter.
I was going to say, if you took the second half of that Notre Dame game, the first 3 quarters of that Duke game, then Carolina was like outscored like 20-1 or something like that.
So Syracuse, we done the yo-yo all year. It's like Syracuse just wins 2 and then loses 2 against all these ACC teams. How do they look? I think that's a good question. I think there's a really good article talking about like the NBA. I forget who, it was some guy named Owen. He was talking about the NBA, how the NBA has become like a weak link sport. However, you cannot survive how your weakest link is. Before, the NBA used to be a strong, like you won with your best player. I think this NCAA tournament is a weak link tournament. This tournament's going to be defined by how well does your weakest unit play. So to me, this tournament is defined by Cornell's defense, Princeton's face-off unit, Maryland's offense. That's what's going to decide this tournament. I don't think you're going to win this tournament by... if Cornell wins this tournament, I don't think Cornell is going to win this tournament by scoring 18 every game. I think there's going to have to be a game where Cornell defense can get enough stops. Can they keep opponents to 11 or 12? For Princeton, can Princeton find a way to get by if they only win 8 or 9 faceoffs? Or can Princeton's faceoff unit do kind of like what maybe Maryland did in that 2017 when they ran the gauntlet against elite Fogo play? For Maryland, can there be a game where Maryland's offense puts up 15 goals and shoots their way out of it? That to me is what's going to define this tournament. Is how because all these teams have weaknesses. I think Cornell is awesome and they come in with 1 loss. I don't view Cornell with 1 loss the same way I did Notre Dame last year, Maryland in 2022. I think there's a gap there. All these teams have weaknesses. Whose weakness performs best, I think, is what decides this. All right. If you folks got any more questions for us, please throw them in the chat. I will tackle them here. We have so what's the schedule by day? The first game is North Carolina Richmond at 12 on ESPN U. The second game on Saturday is the 2:30 game Saturday. Is Princeton? I think it's Princeton Towson, right?
Yeah, because I was hoping that was on Sunday.
Or is it Penn State Colgate?
No, Penn State Colgate's 5.
On Saturday?
Yes. Princeton Towson, yeah. I was hoping that was going to be Sunday. I was going to watch that Sunday. Yeah.
KM, Syracuse and Hofstra, I believe, are funneled to Annapolis. Syracuse Princeton are funneled to Annapolis. And I think Cornell has also been funneled to Annapolis. Or not Annapolis, Jesus, I'm sorry. Hofstra. Syracuse Princeton, the 3-6 is funneled to Hofstra. Cornell, North Carolina, the 1-8 has been funneled to Hofstra as well.
Yeah.
The Annapolis is Ohio State, Penn State, and Maryland, Duke. Or, I'm just going by the seeds. All right, so Saturday we've got 12 noon, ESPNU, UNC, and Richmond. 2:30, 3-ish, Princeton and Towson. 5-ish, Penn State and Colgate, and then the nightcap, Duke, Georgetown. Sunday, actually is more balanced than I thought it'd be. I thought Saturday would be the real load up. But Sunday, Ohio State, Notre Dame kicks us off. 2:30, Maryland. On the Deuce, yes, ESPN2. Harvard and Maryland. Not Harvard and Maryland, goodness. Maryland and the playing game is at 2:33. 5 o'clock is Syracuse and Harvard. Evening in the day. Princeton is to Annapolis, are we sure?
No.
Oh my God.
Sure. No, Princeton is sure. They're the 3.
Do we have confirmation?
Yeah, I'm looking at the NCAA bracket thing with that.
Sure, pull the bracket up. Pull the bracket up if you can. Or
I put it in the chat. I put it in the chat for you so you can put it.
All right. Princeton is Annapolis. Oh my God.
No.
Are you sure? Say, I need the bracket save.
It's in the chat. I swear to God.
Where?
Yeah.
Where in the chat? I need it like.
Or DM or like a.
Oh, no, I need it like in the bracket or something.
Oh, I can't. Because I have my phone here.
You're good. You're good. All right.
But yeah, no, 100%. I'm looking at it at Q. Here, I'll just put it on my screen. Princeton. Yeah, Towson.
Yes,
Just
that's Hempstead. Yeah. All right, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Safe. You're the best.
Of course, yeah, no. Good one.
Uh,
everybody, especially Ryan.
Share this tab. I don't know what they have messed. I'm not looking at. I'm just the official bracket's the official bracket. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. All right. Yes, there you go. Hempstead, Princeton, Syracuse, Harvard, and then Cornell. There you go. So it's in Hempstead. Goodness, what a night! There's always something. Yes, Cam. Yes, Princeton is going to Hofstra, or Towson's going to Hofstra. Or the Tigers are going to Hofstra.
Why is Towson Harvard?
A Tiger will be in Hofstra. The Tigers will be in Hofstra. There you go.
There will be a Tiger sighting.
The selection show is messed up. One of the websites had the quarterfinals crossed up. Listen, man.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, great.
I turned the selection show off at 9:55. I was like, all right, we're good. You knew the vibes were bad with Quinn's hair.
Yes.
So you knew the vibes were bad.
There's literally a picture of Bateman's Wikipedia page. Like Jason Bateman, 1987. It was exactly the hair. It's that wave over there. It's just wonderful. It's just 80. Just like someone said, what's the 80s haircut? I'm like, that's cool. I just put the quit tonight.
Oh man. All right, folks. We will be live. Anything else? Get it now. We'll answer it on the fly.
Hold your peace.
We will be back live Saturday night after Duke and Georgetown. So after Duke and Georgetown, we will be live on here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on, and we will be live to break down the first 4 games: Carolina, Richmond, Princeton, Towson, Penn State, Colgate, and Duke, Georgetown. Probably won't be live Sunday night, but we will be live for both of the quarterfinals, Saturday and Sunday. Maybe we'll get Ryan like on the horn from Hofstra. We'll see. Ryan might. I don't know what Safe when that Princeton Harvard game or no, the Princeton Cornell game last year. Safe was I'm gonna go live and start interviewing people. That might be what Ryan does if Syracuse beats Princeton and Hofstra to go to the Final Four. Like he might just start like going up to people.
Jose Marino just running down the field, number 1 there.
It's gonna be like what was that? The hot mic moment at Sacred Heart, Siena.
Oh my God!
They're gonna be like, sorry folks, we've got for me. There is a person on the field. That might be right if Syracuse beats Princeton to go to the Final Four.
Which would just be a dream Final Four matchup for the Pods because then there would be Maryland Chiefs. First time we've had chat like Final Four since 2015. Where we were kind of just at our infancy. We're happy Maryland.
Mark, see the beautiful thing is if like I think Adam was mentioning, like the beautiful thing about Ohio State and Notre Dame is one of them lose. The beautiful thing about Syracuse is that either they're going to lose in the first round, in which case we're going to get great content out of that.
Oh, just explosive.
Like incredible. Or they're going to lose in the quarterfinals to Princeton. We're getting great content out of that. Maybe less great content. I think you'd just be really sad. Like that might just more kind of depressing.
Melancholic Ryan.
Melancholic Ryan.
The real Irish side of him comes out.
Exactly.
We never.
Or they're going to go to the Final Four and he's going to be there, in which case, that'll be amazing. So it's like either way we win. Can't lose.
Be great content. You're the big winners, viewers.
You guys have day jobs. Unfortunately, yes, man. Listen, I'd love to do this all the time. If someone wants to, if there's a Ivy League, if there's another Josiah out there, who wants to I'll take the call, man. Or maybe Josiah. Just kidding. Listen, man, I'll take the call.
The Princeton billionaires at the games. You're like, you want to sponsor a pod?
That's gonna be Ryan going live. He's gonna find some billionaire, be like, hey man, you want to sponsor our podcast? I know you guys just lost, but I'm just gonna start emailing Sergey Brin until he, just like takes my call.
You can't keep ignoring this, Sergey. We're a dominant team. We don't even have our own stadium.
I know that your parents donated a lot to the math department, but what about lacrosse? It was like that. I'm gonna frame it the way Terry did with that Michigan State tweet, where it was like Michigan State is really looking for like donors, but he's like, man, if only they hadn't got rid of lacrosse. Like, sir, think of that.
You got Larry Elsenroot, this fine one of these guys who's dating a lacrosse fan. I just wanted to start dating Mike Bloomberg. So to like convince him to just dump like $1 billion on the lacrosse team. just open up
former Hopkins.
Hopkins Lacrosse Endowment, the Bloomberg Endowment for Hopkins Lacrosse.
Oh man, that's amazing. What a world. Yeah. Yeah, we do. I mean, look, if we didn't have day jobs, I wouldn't be so upset about them doing this thing at 9:00. But that's for when we're dictators of sports. Well, the bracket will be revealed literally as soon as the Ivy League game goes final.
Everything is based off of East Coast convenience. Like, this Super Bowl's at 5, 5:30.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, that's the one thing we get as East Coast fans is the Super Bowl being at 6:30. Everything else is,
Yeah.
It's, actually, we're going to start this game 7 at like 9 p.m. Eastern.
Worry about the West Coast. There's 80% of the population that's over this side. What are we doing?
Just leave work. I don't know. Like, you're going to.
They can watch it on their phones as they're going home from work. It's fine.
Yeah. Once the game is over, like, you have your whole evening ahead of you. What are you worried about?
Yeah. Dinner after.
You can go to the damn movies. Oh man! All right, folks, this has been an amazing time. We had Quint's hair, them taking 10 minutes to review Ohio State Notre Dame. We had, see you, David. Thank you for joining, brother. Them just dropping the all at once, everything, everywhere, all at once. As Gil says, we like lacrosse. All right, that's our note to end on. Thank you very much, folks. You guys are the best. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. We will see you next Saturday. Or in the meantime, actually, we'll have a pod this week. Don't forget about that. We will preview all the first round games. Big pod. It'll be out probably Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, something like that. All right. Stay hydrated. We like lacrosse. Becky Lynch for president. See you out there. Enjoy. Here you go. Enjoy this outro.
Ford, Honda, Chevy, Beamers, and minivans, over 600 cars, trucks, SUVs. Are you listening, man? Let Eastern Motors put you in a car today. Let Eastern Motors